welcome back to Pseudo Gameplay TV for another character analysis. Today we will be having a look at the symbiotic scourge Venom. Now Venom has been I wouldn't say main staple, but he's been around for a while. Since 1984 was his first comic book appearance. He's primarily a Spider-Man villain, which no harm in that. He's one of the few villain characters that's playable in this game. Now, Venom more particularly refers to the symbiote itself, as the symbiote can attach to a multitude of different hosts or persons. The most notable of two that he's been connected with is Peter Parker's Spider-Man, and shortly thereafter, Eddie Brock, who's the main person who is associated with being the host of Venom, and consequently, this portrayal of the character is the Eddie Brock variation. Now, in terms of the abilities that the Venom symbiote has, the symbiote itself has some limited shape-shifting and camouflage, as well as autonomous self-defense capabilities. And due to his connection that he has with Peter Parker, or had with Peter Parker's Spider-Man, the symbiote picked up two additional traits. The first of which is all of the powers that the symbiote's first human host, Peter Parker's Spider-Man, has. So he has a lot of web-type attacks and the ability to crawl on walls and the such. But also, as a consequence of that, this symbiote is undetectable by spider senses, which proves to be a little bit of a problem for Peter and other web warriors. However, he's a very fun playable character in this game, and he has quite a few very powerful attacks that can be used to great effect. The first of which comes available right off the bat, is the Venom Fang, where the character changes into countless massive fangs and performs a forward lunge. This is a very direct line attack, but has some very useful applications in the game. The second attack that he has access to is the Dark Web, where multiple ball-type shots of symbiote are shot in the direction that the character's facing. Now, this is something that you can press repeatedly to continue attacking. Not the most useful of his abilities, but certainly has some utility, to be sure. The third of which of his attacks is the Symbiote Surge, where Venom will create a pool of symbiote that bursts up from the ground and slows enemies for a short time. This is quite a high damage move as well, which is interesting and useful to remember. The fourth of his abilities is the Living Weapon, where several extensions from the symbiote in a tentacle-type shape lunge out to attack nearby enemies, and this is kind of a radius-type attack. Now, the team that we have built around Venom today to kind of assist, he doesn't quite max out all of his synergies, but maxes out some of the more important ones. We have a few synergies with Punisher, a synergy with Spider-Man, and a couple with Colossus as well. Now, we are rounding out to the end of our main series for the characters that are acquirable through the main story, but we will be transitioning into both unlockable characters, free DLC, and paid DLC as those characters come available. But for now, let's jump into a Rift and showcase what it's like to use Venom. Now, as always, the first thing that we do want to showcase with Venom is similar to some of the other Spider-Man type characters. His double jump consists of some web shots that he can use to sling himself around. His aerial attack, he will slam down onto the ground right in front of him, and this will knock down characters that do not have a stagger bar, which has quite a bit of use. His standard attacks consist of a 3-hit combo, the final hit of which has a knockdown element to the attack. And his heavy attack is actually a bit of a ranged capability, where multiple spires of symbiote will crop up from the ground in front of him, knocking down the opponents that happen to get in the way. It also will carry in chain if the character's lined up directly. Now, his attacks, which are quite useful, the first of which is the Venom Fang. He will sink down into the ground and then lunge forward, attacking the other characters that happen to get in his way. And this does have an element of knockdown to it, so it's nice for busting down large groups of opponents. The second attack is ranged, which is the Dark Web. It has a bit of some stagger to it, but I don't get a whole lot of utility out of this attack as I do a lot of the others that Venom has access to. Such as the Symbiote Surge, which is as follows. He will just kind of summon a spire of symbiote in front of him, and this actually does have some quite decent damage to opponents that have stagger bars. You saw that we depleted about a third of this character's stagger just there. And it will slow the opponents for a momentary time. Now, the final ability, the Living Weapon, is best used in large groups of opponents, as Venom gets down on all fours and sends those spires out on all directions around him. And it is a quite powerful attack, provided that you don't get knocked out of it. And it will send some of the smaller opponents flying as well. Now for his final attack, you want to find ideally a group of enemies that are bunched up, as there's a very large, very large area of effect attack that can be utilized by that Symbiote Surge. So typically I find myself using either the Venom Fang, the Living Weapon, and occasionally the Symbiote Surge. I hardly ever touch the Dark Web attack, mainly because I don't feel like it's actually that beneficial. There's just a lot more utility that he has. Now, his heavy attack does have quite a bit of utility to it. I do enjoy using that attack quite a bit. And it's actually nice if you kind of get ganged up on. You can use it as kind of an escape from the opponents that you might be running into. Now, canonically, Venom does have a weakness to fire. That's not really showcased. Fire and sound, actually. Sound is showcased in the main story quest a little bit when you first fight the character, but the other weaknesses are not really exploited or explored at all. But all in all, I'm very happy with how this character was presented and what he did in the game. I used him through multiple different playthroughs, and I would highly, highly recommend using Venom, as he's just a massive powerhouse and deals out a lot of very diverse damage against all types of characters. Well, thanks again for your support on this series. Again, I do have plans for a subscriber giveaway if we can reach 50 subscribers before the end of the year. I have all of my previous character analysis videos in a playlist here on my channel, so if you've missed one, please go back and check it out. They're all pretty brief, no longer than 10 minutes on average. But I do thank you again for all your support on this series. Be sure to subscribe to never miss a video, as I do upload daily. And once again, you have yourself a great rest of your day.